Sorry. So we have now 18 participants, including the speakers and presenters. So I don't know if you want to start, Irene, and then we can move on with the session.
Was it Caesar starting with the welcome speech? Hello? Miguel?
Yeah.
Oh,
We have everybody on the
yes.
on the
Okay.
Yeah, we have everybody, so you can start.
Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much for joining us for this webinar, the Active Communication webinar. We have representatives from 3 regions of the world, and we are really pleased to have you all join us. Before I commence to introduce the speakers, we will have a welcome speech from Cesar Garrido. Cesar is born in Caracas, Venezuela, and has 2 sons, one with hemophilia A severe. He is a member of the World Federation of Hemophilia Executive Committee, and for over 14 years has been an active volunteer chairing and co-chairing many committees during this time. He is the general coordinator of the Coalition of the Americas since 2017 and has been collaborator of Latin Alliance, IAPO, LATAM, and HERO Group. As a member of the Venezuelan Hemophilia Association, he has been part of twinnings with Dominican Republic, Brazil, Ecuador, and Palestine. So I'd like to welcome you, Cesar, to say your welcoming remarks before I proceed to introduce the rest of the speakers.
Thank you, Irene. I am really happy. Well, I am excited because this is a day that we finally have this kind of experience, very new experience for us, 2 continents working together. So, well, good morning for the people who live in America, moreover the Caribbean island, and the rest of the audience living in Africa. Welcome. This is example, right? This is just one example how it's possible to work together. This is really working together. So please, I would like to invite you to enjoy this wonderful workshop. Actually, I will be as a student, listening like you. So I am excited because I want to know which kind of the tool, modern tool we can use for the future. Or looking for that kind of the resources, available resources and active like communication in order to make advocacy in front of the health authority. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a participant in this kind of initiative. And I want to thank our people from the WFH staff, the regional managers. They are, wow, the effort has been a wonderful effort. And thank you for the department, regional program from the director is Salome Mekuzla. Congratulations, because we must be happy with this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cesar, for the welcoming remarks. I'll proceed to introduce the rest of the speakers on the call. As Cesar has mentioned, we have Salome Mekuzla, who's the Director Regional Development at the WFH. She's basically the overall in charge of all the regions within Africa and effectively manages all the regional managers in the regions. She was formerly the regional manager for Europe before taking on the position of director, and she's based in Montreal, our Canada head office. I would also want to introduce our speaker, Oriana Lozada, who's the social communicator with experience, please wave Oriana, with experience in digital media and marketing. She has experience as a journalist and development of a marketing strategy of different fashion, automotive, and entrepreneurship brands. She currently specializes in digital marketing. She believes that it is one of the most powerful tools to reach more people in a simple way. And I think in the course of this workshop, we're going to really understand that in detail. I would also want to introduce Antonio Gomez Gavallini. Please wave. He's a political scientist with a postgraduate in analysis and impact of programs in organizations and program management. He is a volunteer of the FH Argentina and volunteer of the WFH, an institutional relations coordinator of the Coalition of the Americas. He has worked in the Ministry of Labor as training coordinator and as a consultant for the public sector on project execution. I would also like to introduce my fellow regional managers. That is Fernanda Geiger, please wave, and Miguel, who are all regional managers like I am. My name is Irene Chami, and I am the regional manager Africa, based in Nairobi, Kenya. With not much ado, I'd like to invite the speaker, Miss Oriana, to proceed on with the training.
Great, thanks for the introduction. How is everybody here? I can see your face, your hands, good, great. I will share my screen, just give me 1 second. Good. Please, can you confirm that you can see my screen? My computer is sharing the screen. Can you see? Yes? Good?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. I think Miguel will share a few rules with you and also the agenda.
Yes, well, welcome everybody. We have just some rules that you already saw when you registered to the workshop. And by the way, I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties. Zoom is behaving very badly today. But we are glad that you are here. And please, some of you are already using the chat. Please, you can use the chat to share some of your comments, some of your questions. So first of all, we would like to see you, and so we would like for you to have your camera turned on. Of course, if your connection is unstable or you see any kind of problem, you can turn it off. Through the meeting, Oriana will tell you when she needs you to turn on your camera, to open your mic, if that's needed, but in general, you can turn it off if the connection is challenging. Second of all, please keep your microphone muted so we can avoid more noise. Obviously, if you want to participate, you have two options. You can either write or type your question on the chat, and then one of us will read it, and we will obviously compile the similar questions, or you can ask to participate verbally, and then you can open your mic and you can ask the question directly to Oriana. So either way is welcome. Please, if you have any question, do not hesitate to make it. That's it for the rules. Basically, it's like any other meeting. Please, if you have any comment or any question, feel free. And well, we will have this is a general agenda. Obviously, it's going to be most of the time Oriana presenting. So basically, we already had the beginning and the objectives. Now we're going to have the webinar with all these topics. And then we're going to have the closing remarks and some updates from the regional development department. So also, it's very important to remember that this workshop is comprised of 2 sessions. The first one is today. Second one is next week, Tuesday, 21st at the same time. You can use the same link that you received for today's meeting. You can use the same one for next week. Obviously, if you have any technical difficulty, we are at your service. So welcome, and say hello to Oriana.
Good. Say hello to Oriana. Okay. I would like to know how many webinars have you have during this quarantine. Is your first webinar? Can you share with me in your screen if it's your first webinar, or if it's your like a lot of webinars is with this hand? A lot of webinars? Yes. Good. Well, I would like to introduce myself and tell you guys that I'm really happy to be here. I think this is a really important moment in history to talk about communication. We are not going to talk just about digital communication. We also will talk about communication in general, because we need to understand the core of the communication in order to understand how to communicate in another channels. I would like to introduce this speaker, and I love the idea of that you have to talk about this. And that's the reason that I would like to start this conversation with this article that Microsoft write for Bloomberg Media. They say for Bloomberg that we took in 2 years a digital transformation that normally will take this develop of the digital transformation changed a lot in just 2 months, and that is going to take you 2 years. What that means? They say 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. That means that we are in the right moment in the history to talk about communication. But why they say that? Because in these 2 or 3 months of quarantine, we have the opportunity to learn some new stuff thanks to the communication, thanks to the technology, and also we understand new things about the communication. Some of you maybe thought that, yes, we can make a digital strategy of communication of our organizations in 6 months. But now, all this time was reduced thanks to this moment in the history. So it's really important that you understand that we are in an important moment in the history, and we have to understand that communication is something that we really need to focus. Say that, I would like to mention that this is something that usually what was going to take us 2 years to understand. Now we have 2 months. Saying that, I would like to also mention that the quarantine is not the moment to lose opportunities in terms of communications. If you are an organization, if you are a person, also if you are a brand, and you are in health, in good conditions, this is the moment to speak and say something. Why? Because we are in the middle of something important, and it's the first time that we have the opportunity to share this conversation via internet. So that's the main reason that we have this conversation with you. That's the reason that I would like to say thank you to Coalition of the American and also the World Federation, because they are worried about your people, your organizations in terms of communications, because we are in an important moment of the history. Now say that, I would like to communicate how it's going to be our training. The first that you're going to see is that we're going to have a mind training. Yes, but Oriana, how is going to be this mind training? Well, the first is that when we start a training, we feel a little bit of motivation, but at the same time, we feel pain because it's the first time that we make that exercise. But if you try, if you make an habit, that could be a possibility that you can do something. So why I tell you that? Well, because maybe today you will say like, oh my God, I cannot understand what she's saying. But after this conversation, the idea is to think about it. And after you will practice every day the tools that I will give to you. And after a few months, maybe a few days or weeks, you will understand that you're changing your mindset in terms of communication. So please be patient with you, with the presentation, with this moment. You will have an amazing opportunity to get inspired with all this communication moment, but at the same time, it's in your hands if you want to practice on this. So let's start with all this motivation of this training. And remember, this is a mind training. Sometimes we feel when we make an exercise that it's hurting, but when it's a mind training, sometimes we don't have the tool to understand what is happening. So I will tell you something. At the beginning, you will going to say, okay, I'm not understanding everything here. But then when I share this presentation and you have a few days, also my follow-up via WhatsApp, I will let you know what is this about. You will understand all these changes that you can do. So talking about this, I would like to mention how it's going to be our schedule in terms of the training methodology. So today we have a meeting about personal communication and traditional communication. The next session will be about digital communication. But why, if we want to talk maybe about digital communication, and we have to talk about personal communication, where I will love to comment that all the communication have the same core, have the same topics to talk. When you know how to communicate, you know that you have to do it in different channels. I mean, when you understand the core of how the communication, the anatomy of the communication, you can understand now how to communicate in another channels. So when the World Federation comes from me, for me, they say, we want to talk about digital marketing because all this revolution of information, we want to talk about social media. We want to help our organization. And I say, yes, we need to talk about this. But first, we need to talk about the core of the communication. So this methodology would be, first, we will talk today about personal communication. Please take notes because it's really important. It's the core of your communication. And after that, I will send you tomorrow a homework when you can practice the things that I share with you. After that, you will have 3 days for feedback, for my feedback. And next week, we will see you again in a Zoom meeting with the same people, with the same team, but talking about digital communication. So, talking about this training methodology, I was talking with you what kind of stuff we need for a better communication. So the first that I understood that we need is to understand what kind of communicator you are. If you are a brand, if you are an organization, if you are a person, you need to understand what are the tools that you have to communicate. Also, you need to understand the personality of your brand, of your organization. That means that you have to know the role that you have. Second, you need to have a strategy. In communication, everything is a strategy. And sometimes we think that someone is a good communicator just because they are charismatic and they know how to talk, but not. This is someone that have been learning and studying about a strategy to communicate. And the third thing that we're going to say, to share, it's about the channels that we're going to use to communicate. So remember, first, we can know ourselves and understand our tools. After that, we're going to know the strategy, what we're going to do, what is the main focus. And after that, now that we understand all this information, we're going to do and understand what is the channel where I want to share this information. So saying that, I would like to mention also that it's not the same if I'm going to make a public presentation, if I am a speaker in a conference. It's not the same if I'm going to talk in the radio or in a TV show. Also, it's not the same if I'm going to make a meeting, if I have an important meeting where I have to make some deals with important people, and it's not the same if I'm going to post in social media. The core is the same, and this is what we're going to learn today, the core of the communication, but the channels change. So, Oriana, why all this information, where we can use? Well, as I mentioned, we can use in a conference, we can use in a meeting, in a media interview, or in a digital marketing or your social media channels. The importance here is that you understand the core of the communication. Saying that, I would like to give you a great quote. He is one of the authors of the theory of the communication. He is Paul Webflowit, and he said that you cannot not communicate. Every behavior is a kind of communication. But Paul, what that means? That means that us as a humans always communicate. So I ask you, if we always communicate, why can we not choose to communicate really well? This is something of the humans. This is something that we cannot deny. So it's important to understand that now that we know that we always communicate, let's do it well. And when I say that, I would like to share a post in Twitter that was, for me, was really curious and really interesting. A user in Twitter shared this picture, and he said, "We are all bad in a badly told story." So as you can see in the pictures, we can see a lioness with her cub carrying. So in one picture, we can think that the lioness is eating her cub, but in another picture with a different perspective, we can see that she's not eating her baby. She's just carrying her. So it's important to understand that we are telling the same story told differently. And that happens when we don't understand that we are communicating something and we are doing in a right or in a wrong way. So I will ask you, what kind of lion do you want to be? The lion with the good perspective, or you want to be the lion in the bad perspective? So please understand that one more time. Communication, it's important, always. But now, at this moment in history, it's more important than ever. Is that okay for you? That has sense for you? If you can put your thumbs up, it's okay? Good. So are you ready to understand how to get communicated? Okay, I want to see you. Okay. Good. I love this. Thumbs up if you are ready. Good. So the first I would like to mention in terms of communication, now we're going deep. Who says the message matter? And this is something that we have to understand. Why, Oriana, we have to understand that? Yes, because it's important to know that the person who is telling you something about a content or if sharing some ideas, it will give you an idea or a different perspective of what this person is sharing. So it's really important to understand that it's not the same that Steve Jobs or maybe Nelson Mandela talk about technology. There are different perspectives, both are good, both are right, but they are different because who says the message matter? It's not the same that Mother Teresa talks about religion that Steve Jobs. So the first that we have to do is understand that yes, who says the message matter. But why I say that? Because you have to understand that who you are matters, and you have to also understand that you have to know the role that you have in this conversation. Are you a doctor? Are you a patient? Or maybe you are just a speaker from another area, or you are specialized in one category or one topic and you need to talk about this. It's important, always, 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 before you start talking, to understand the role that you have and understand what are your tools. Saying that, I would like to introduce myself because I don't have enough time to talk about me. Okay, I would like to say that I'm Oriana Lozada. I'm from Panama. And I'm not from Panama. I'm from Venezuela, but I live in Panama. I am also the Tanya's daughter, and I am also social communicator. But in my experience as a worker, I have been working with different digital medias as a journalist, but also with marketing brands. What that means, I have the opportunity to see how the people want to read the contents and also how the brands need to communicate the messages to get into audience. So for me, it's really important to share you this because since I was a child, as you can see in this picture, I was really interested in all this communication, all this digital moment. I remember that I used to make websites or blogs. I don't remember exactly, but it's something that I really to love when I was a child. And for me, it's really important to share because that means, or that that means something for me now in the present, because this is what I do today. I understand brands, I understand marketing communications in order to communicate with people. And that's really interesting because you have to translate what is the message, and after that you have to translate for people. So telling you that, I would like to ask you if after I talk a little bit about who I am, my country, and also if I share a picture when I was a child, I create a little bit more of empathy with you. And that happened, and that's the reason that I share more information about me just at this time, because we have to understand that when we have a history and also we have some points of connection with people that can create empathy, you can really connect with people. So the first that I will tell you is understand who you are, understand that who say the message matter. And now that you know that, create empathy with people, because this is the core of the communication. We cannot create empathy if we don't know our own story. Also, if we don't share with people. It doesn't have to be like you're going to share too much information with people, but find the things that maybe you can have in common with them. So please be sure to get empathy with your audience. Telling you that, let's go with all this self-knowledge and how you can practice the idea of understand what are the tools that you have to communicate with people. So I will introduce you what kind of communicators can be you. So the first one that we have is this guy that is charismatic. Do you know what is a charismatic guy? They comes in a meeting and they talk with everybody and they have jokes and they can maintain the conversation. They are shining every time. But also you can be a good listener. This is also a kind of communicator. So that kind of person is the one that when you are talking, they are really, really understanding what you say. They are taking time to hear you. And that's important in a communicator. The third speaker that I would like to mention is that one that is good speaker. It's that person that can speak fluently and soft and then take time to speak. They don't need jokes. They just need to speak to you to the best way with empathy. The next a communicator that we have is that person that is so analytical. They always have facts. They always give you information. All their speaking, it's about information, fun facts or facts. They always have data. After that, we have this kind of communicator that is persuasive or eloquent. That person, you don't know how, but always find the way to find the goals. So we all know that person that is persuasive and understand the way how to convince people. And the last type of communicator is that person that is goal-oriented. We also know someone that always in a meeting have the checklist points and they are like, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's do. They always know about how to find the goals. So the first that I would like to ask you in this opportunity is what kind of communicator you think you are? Miguel, maybe you can share the poll at this moment. Good. So you can vote in your screen. You will see all the types of communicators that I shared with you. And you can vote honestly because no one will know who voted for something. And we can share. Okay. I have results. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Okay, we have 5 votes for good listener, and we have 4 votes for persuasive. And in the third position, we have a goal-oriented. Really interesting. Charismatic, we have 2 persons that are charismatic. Oh my God, that's great. Love it. So first we have good listener. We have 6 people that say that they are really good listener. And also we have in the second place, a persuasive and eloquent kind of communicator. Great. I will finalize the poll. Great. Thank you for sharing this information. It's really interesting that the people, good. Yeah. Sometimes the people think that being a good listener is not part of the communication, but yes. It is. So the idea with this is that you try to understand what are these types of a communicator that you are and start to work and find the new ones or the other types of communicators and start to develop this kind of communicators. So one thing that I would like to share is how can you find what kind of communicator you are and what things are you good. So in terms of self-knowledge, I would like to give you a few questions for you, and these questions will be really helpful. So the first one will be, what are your skills? What kind of skills you have? What are you good at? It doesn't mean that it's something that is not your job. It's more focused. These questions are focused on what kind of stuff do you enjoy doing? Also, you know there is a skill that you have. And it's important, and a little trick that people give it to you to understand what kind of skills you have is to understand what activities did you like as a child. Do you remember that I mentioned in the pictures when I was a child that I was in the computer making websites and blogs? Well, it wasn't because I want to share a picture when I was a child. I want to share that sometimes when you are a child, you have this idea of things that you want to do, and also you have skills, small skills that you practice. And after, when you are an adult, you start working in another stuff, or maybe you work in these areas. But it's important to make you think what kind of activities you do when you was a child and you really enjoyed. Can you think about it? It's easy to you to think, oh my God, I really was good doing this thing. Also, it's important to understand what is your job, your actual job. That also would say a lot of you, because your job will give you the idea of what things you are focused on and also you enjoy to do. So it's important to understand the differences between your skills and your job. Maybe they can be together, but not sometimes are the same. So please be sure to understand each other, and after you can see, they are really similar or they are not similar, or maybe how can I use all these skills that I have for my job. Also, something really important here is in which areas do people usually congratulate you? That's also important because sometimes we have like a expectative or something that the people is going to congratulate for something, and we often realize that the people are congratulation for another stuff. So it's really important to think that moments when you make an activity and someone comes to you and tell you, wow, you made a great job. It's really interesting. So please take time to think about it. These questions, if you want to take a pictures, also we will share this presentation, but I think these are questions that you have to ask yourself in order to understand what kind of communicator you are, and also for understand which one of these you have to boost and which one you have to improve. So please, for your homework, I also will share with you, but for your homework, I would like that you share with me 3 communicators skills that you would like to boost because you are already good on these skills, in these communication skills, and then you also will share 2 for improve. When I say improve, I mean that you know that you're not that good on these qualities or these skills, but at the same time, you know that you want to have these kind of skills. So it's really important to understand, okay, I'm good on this, I would like to boost, and I'm not that good on this, but I would like also to get improved. Good with this? Thumbs up if you're good. I would like to share with you a fact that is really interesting in terms of communication that say that 75% of the people are afraid to speak in public. Yes. So if you're one of these persons, you're not alone. All these people in the worldwide, it's really afraid to speak in public. How we call that? That is called glossophobia. And it's one of the 10 most common fears in the world. So it's important that once that you understand that you have maybe a fear of speaking in public, that is not the same that a communicator, because are different, because you can communicate it, you can communicate writing, or maybe in a Zoom meeting, or maybe posting on Facebook, but maybe you are afraid to speak in public. So why I'm talking about this? Because it's really too important to separate, to split this both idea and understand that you are a communicator. Yes, you are a communicator. The difference is maybe in terms of public speaking, you are afraid. Also, something really curious for me was that I found this quote. I will read for you. Many people develop the stage of fright as a result of a situation when they have been ashamed or feel bad when speaking in class, or in the family, or at work. That happened, maybe some of you have a bad experience when you was a child about all this situation to talk in public and you feel so ashamed. And that happened not because you were a bad communicator. That happened because you don't have a strategy and you don't know what kind of communicator you are. So I know the fears are something that need to work deeply in terms of work with them and make them disappear. But it's important to understand, and I would like to give you this idea, that those fears come from a moment when you didn't know too much about life, about how to communicate, and no one teach how to communicate when you are a child. So another stuff that was really interesting that I read is sometimes this fear comes from another person that we saw that was ashamed in public, and we say, no, I don't want to leave this. I will never speak in public. So imagine that you are that kind of person that is really afraid of speak in public, but this doesn't happen to you. So please take the moment also to think if you are part of this percentage of people that really don't like to speak in public, and understand first that it's different being a kind of communicator versus being good speaking in public. And the second is that maybe if you are afraid of speaking, it's because a fear that you have since a situation, a different situation when you was a child, or maybe when you was an adult in a meeting. So the important thing is to understand that your person, when you create that moment of fear, didn't know that you have to first understand what kind of communicator you are in order to use that tools and communicate. And after, you didn't know that you need a strategy to communicate.